2, 1, go. Hello guys, how are we all doing? Welcome back to yet another video, folks. Today we are predicting the game week 36 of the Premier League predictions live. Welcome back to my channel. It's K Days or K Diaries here. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to my Premier League week 36 predictions. So much on the line, folks. We saw Chelsea beating Chelsea beating Liverpool by 3-1, and we saw Arsenal collapsing their loss to Bournemouth and then lost to PSG in midweek. But so much on the line. Before you get any, all eyes on the Newcastle versus Chelsea line, a massive game in the race for the Champions League, and also a big game for the big two in the Premier League, Liverpool versus Arsenal. Liverpool already wrapped up the title, but Arsenal, can they finish second for the third straight season in a row? But before we get into the YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button, give us the thumbs up, like and comment, and subscribe to the channel, and leave your comments below. First up, let's start with Southampton versus Man City. Southampton versus Man City. Right. Southampton may well have missed their chance of avoiding going into the history books, as the Saints now welcome Man City to the Premier League week 36. An unwanted record, Southampton. Only 11 points. They want to pass Derby County's record, but I don't think they can. But I think Man City, they welcome a Manchester City sneaking to save their season in the final few weeks. In his second spell as the interpreted boss this season, following the sacks of Russell Martin and then Ivan Durick, Simon Rusk appeared to have slightly improved performance at level of Southampton. The Saints look to finish on the season on just 11 points. That would see them join Derby County in 2007-08 as the lowest ever Premier League points tally, after a 2-0 defeat also relegated Leicester City at the weekend before games at home to Manchester City and Arsenal, as well as away at Southampton in the final game at Goodison Park. Pep Guardiola's Manchester City have put together a run of form at an excellent time to mean the top 5 finish in Champions League qualification now appears something very inventable possibility, as they sneak a few points clear of 5th with 4 successive victories ahead of this one. The visitors also have an FA Cup final at Wembley Stadium against Crystal Palace. Looking forward to the next weekend after edging past Wolverhampton Wanderers by 1-0 at the Etihad Stadium last week, thanks to a first half strike from Kevin De Bruyne. Southampton have been woeful throughout this campaign with just 2 victories and 11 points collected. The Saints had seemingly shown some improvement under Rusk. They are now destined for a historical low this season. Manchester City have rediscovered some winning touch of late. The visitors will be expecting comfortably in the top 5, as even as runner-ups, but they are firm favourites for a comfortable victory down at St Mary's. I'm going Southampton 0, Man City 3. I'm going for 3-0 for Man City, and that would be a comfortable away win because Southampton are all over the place. They have sacked 2 managers. They have sacked 2 managers on Ivan Durick and Simon and Russell Martin. Up next, Fulham versus Everton. A big game for Fulham to stay there, to stay in a race for European football. But it won't be easy against Everton, of course. So, let's see. Right. Fulham versus Everton is always a tough one to predict. Right. Yes, Fulham. Fulham are still chasing a top 8 finish, or a potentially European qualification, as the Cottagers now take on an Everton side coasting through the end of the 2024-25 campaign. Fulham coming into this one of a back of a 1-0 defeat to Aston Villa at Villa Park, and their most recent outing last weekend. The Cottagers conceded after 12 minutes due to Youri Tielemans' goal and couldn't fight their way back into the game in the second city, but Marco Silva's West Londoners have been inconsistent throughout the campaign, with their 35 matches conceding 15 victories, 9 draws and 12 defeats. They begin the weekend now sitting a couple of points and places outside top 8 or top 9 and European spots. David Moyes' second stint in charge of Everton have been an impressive one, with the Toffees pushing comfortably towards the middle of the table, but the Merseysiders have since hit a tough run of form in the last couple of months or so. In their penultimate game at Goodison Park, they took a 2-0 lead against already relegated Ipswich Town, but they were pegged back to a 2-2 draw by the Tractor Boys, but they have now managed just 1 victory in their last 10 matches in the Premier League. Fulham have been good to watch at times this season, and that is especially the case at Craven Cottage. When they sneak to blitz the team earlier on, that is something they need to do here to stand any chance of European qualification. Everton's entire season simply revolves around the final game at Goodison Park against Southampton next weekend, and their poor form of late perhaps shows an inherited this season, with Fulham firm favourites to take the advantage this weekend. But I'm going for a tight game. I'm going 1-0 to Fulham. 1-0 to Fulham. Yeah. 1-0 to Fulham. Right. Yep. Wolves versus Brighton. Wolverhampton Wanderers have been very impressive since the appointment of Victor Piore, as they now take on European chasing Brighton Hove Albion at the Molineux this weekend. Wolverhampton Wanderers, after a 6-match winning streak before a slender 1-0 defeat to Manchester City at the Etihad Stadium. As for Brighton, the young Premier League coach Fabian Hürzeler, Brighton Hove Albion, they defeated West Ham United by 3-2 a couple of weeks ago, before denied all 3 points against Newcastle United last weekend due to a late penalty scored by Sweden international Alexander Isak. Only a manager 1-1 draw. So Wolverhampton Wanderers, as mentioned, been majorly improved over the last few months, even in defeat to Manchester City last week. They had their moments and chances to score, while it's very difficult for their opposition to play against them. But Brighton have been stodgy at times this season, and the supporters have grown frustrated, with Hürzeler so siding with Piore's beleaguered Wolves. May well be the way to go for this one at Molineux, but I'm going for Wolves here, 2-1. Sounds a bit right. A really good bet for Wolves, but I'm going for Wolves to win 2-1. Right. Ipswich Town will take on Brentford. Ipswich Town, who will want to finish the season with a bit of a fight and pride, as the Tractor Boys take on European chasing Brentford at Portman Road in Suffolk this weekend. Having already been relegated a few weeks ago, or the season to go, Ipswich Town boss Kieran McKenna will be hoping his side can show some fight this month, and they did show game some pride with a 2-2 draw with Everton last weekend. They were 2-0 down, but pegged back, but Everton went 2-0 up via Bento and Dwight McNeil, and then Brighton Hove Albion boss Julo Inkskos Loney. And then Jules Hurst scored a 79th minute equaliser. Brentford have been frustrated at times this season, but Thomas Frank's side have now propelled themselves firmly into the top half and have a good chance of a top 8 or top 9 finish and potentially Europa Conference League qualification this season. The visitors will come into this one of a 4-3 defeat of Manchester United at the G-Tech Community Stadium last weekend, thanks to goals from Kevin Shahade and Joel Visa and goals from Loic Shaw on the own goal to mean they have now enjoyed 3 successive victories. Ipswich Town have often been competitive this season despite their dismal points return, and that produced some entertaining matches, as was the case last weekend. Brentford have been thrilling throughout the season, but with the Bees 35 matches, Premier League matches, conceding of 115 goals, but they are now on the run, just one defeat in their last 7 matches since the March international break. Brentford are firm favourites. What should be another entertaining clash at Portman Road. These big games are coming thick and fast, but times are just running out. Games are just running out. Right, a big game at the Vitality Stadium between Bournemouth and Everton, of course. AFC Bournemouth have given themselves a brilliant chance to get themselves into Europe, as the Cherries now take on the top 5 chasing Aston Villa at the Vitality Stadium for a crucial clash. Who would have thought FC Bournemouth this summer, this could well still deliver the first ever European qualification for the Cherries as they begin the 36th match day of the campaign, sitting trapped inside the top 8 of the Premier League. And that win over Arsenal, a 2-1 victory at the Emirates Stadium, they did not beat Arsenal, but they did the double over the Gunners as well. As for Aston Villa, they coming into the match, beat edge past Fulham by a goal to 0 at Villa Park. So, a real big game. AFC Bournemouth have been intense and entertaining to watch throughout the season, and that style of football is perhaps what we saw them fall away through the spring. But the Cherries will believe they are back at it now. They will take on an Aston Villa side and themselves have been in excellent form of late. But 3 games they haven't won in their last 14. They were arguably the biggest games against PSG in the Champions League, Manchester City in the Premier League and Crystal Palace in the FA Cup. This is the game between the two sides with something to play for. It should well be quite entertaining for the neutral down on the south coast. But I'm going for a little bit of Desmond. 2-2. Right. This is a crucial encounter to determine who will finish in the top 5. And the Champions League spots as Newcastle United takes on Chelsea at St James's Park this weekend. Newcastle United coming into this one of a hard-fought 1-1 draw with Brighton & Hove Albion at the Amex Stadium on the south coast last weekend, in a game which Alexander Isak notched 89th minute equaliser from the penalty spot for the Magpies. Eddie Howe has been in hospital last month or so. He battled pneumonia. He is back dug out in EFL Champions and tries to push for a return to the Champions League, having qualified for Europe's Elite Cup competition in 2022-23 campaign. As for Chelsea in midweek, Chelsea defeated Swedish Slacklands side Djurgården by a goal to 0 at Stamford Bridge in a 5-run aggregate victory. 38-minute strike from Kieran Dewsbury Hall, and they're set up for the Europa Conference League final against Real Betis. The relationship between Enzo Maresca and supporters is fragile, by the Blues by to rediscover their form of late as they push for their Champions League qualification coming into this one on the back of 3 successive victories in the Premier League. Newcastle United have been brilliant in the last few months, with that run of form included ending their long trophy drought. The Magpies can finish an excellent season with their Champions League qualification. They will get their foot down at home here Chelsea's results in the Premier League have been improved, but both in the league and in Europe. But their performances have remained generally unconvincing, with Cole Palmer appearing to be returning to form. They will fancy their chances of scoring, but Newcastle remain slight favourites for the tier side. Wouldn't surprise me, could be a draw, too close to call, but I fancy Newcastle just. But wouldn't surprise me if Chelsea can back it up like they did against my team Liverpool. I'm going for Newcastle to win 2-1. And then Manchester United will not be remotely fussed about the Premier League as the Red Devils welcome to an average and underperforming West Ham United at Old Trafford this weekend. Manchester United have been woeful throughout the season, both under Erik ten Hag and Ruben Amorim, but the Red Devils qualify for the final in their Europa League final in midweek when they will face Tottenham Hotspur at the Bilbao. And then after their 7-1 aggregate victory over Athletic Club, and West Ham United are currently 17th in the Premier League, with the Irons enduring a fairly miserable campaign, firstly under former Spain boss Juma Lopetegui, and then under management of the former Chelsea boss and Brighton boss Graham Potter. The Hammers shared a 1-1 draw at the capital city's rivals to Tottenham Hotspur. Yeah, Manchester United have been impressive in their last two Europa League games against Athletic Club, although they were struggling about an hour of that second leg. However, their 4-3 defeat to Brentford in West London last weekend means they are now winless in their last 6 games. They face the West Ham side that have won just 3 in their 16 matches during the Potter Regan. But that said, this is a very good chance for the Irons to at least avoid another defeat. But Man United will at least stop the rot, but I think United will win 3-1. But hope I'm wrong. Right. Let's move on to a West Midland derby. Nottingham Forest has been strong throughout the season, but they are in danger of fizzling out as they welcome relegated Leicester City side to the King Power Stadium for the East Midlands derby. Nottingham Forest coming into this one for a 1-1 draw with FA Cup finalists Crystal Palace at the Selhurst Park in their most recent outing last weekend, in which Palace took the lead via Ujay Eze penalty, but Barilio equalises shortly after. As for Leicester, they're just coming on the back of their 2-0 win over Southampton. Jamie Vardy scoring his 199th goal for the club before Jordan Ayew also snotted. But will they back it up? I don't think so. Nottingham Forest still need a win to still have brilliant chance to qualify for the Champions League, with games against the poor teams in Leicester City and West Ham United before the final day showdown against Chelsea at the King City ground. They face Leicester side. They may well be showing some pride in the final few weeks of the campaign. And that win against Southampton, it was that home to a Southampton side that just 11 points in 35 games, equal to their lowest ever points tally in the Premier League history, set by Derby County in 2007-08 campaign. Forest should get themselves a much needed victory here, and that's why I'm going for a Forest win, 2-0. Right, both of these two teams have cup finals to prepare for the next 10 days or so. Tottenham Hotspur face Crystal Palace in a London derby at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium this week. Ange Postecoglou said he's always wins things in his second season. And Tottenham Hotspur, who haven't won a trophy in over 15 years, they are in the Europa League final in 10 days' time against Manchester United at the Manze Barbao. The Aussie coach oversaw a professional and mature out-of-character Spurs performance as they defeated Bodo Glimt by 2-0 at the Article Circle in midweek to complete a 5-1 aggregate victory in the semi-finals of the Europa League. Crystal Palace coach, the winner of the 2022 Europa League manager Oliver Glasner, also have a cup final to look forward to. The Eagles take on Manchester City in the FA Cup final at Wembley this next weekend. They'll be fully focused on that trip to North London. So this trip to North London may be cautious as players need to avoid injury. They recently shared a 1-1 draw with Nottingham Forest at the Selhurst Park last weekend. Tottenham Hotspur will be buoyant by their performance and the result in Norway, but the other day they have shown they very string results and performances together. But the fact is, most players will simply sneak in to avoid injury and miss out on the final. But they face Crystal Palace side that they want to refine things, ensure they've also avoid injury ahead of the final next week. But the Freshers Seagull side, even their own cup distraction, will be likely victors in North London. So I'm going for Spurs 1, Palace 2. It wouldn't surprise me if Tottenham turns up and we see a few goals in this game. But, and to save the best till last, Liverpool versus Arsenal. A few months ago, this has looked like it could have been a title decider, but the Premier League title race ended quite a while ago as champions Liverpool welcomed Arsenal to Anfield this weekend. Liverpool coming into this one of a 3-1 defeat to Chelsea at the Stamford Bridge in his first game since they secured Premier League title against Tottenham Hotspur a couple of weeks ago, with a come from behind 5-1 demolition of Spurs in that game. The Reds, coached by Arne Slot, were magnificent in the first half of the year, but the performances and results have certainly dipped this year, and particularly in the spring, with 4 victories and 4 defeats in their last 8 matches across all competitions. As for Arsenal, Arsenal suffered a 2-1 defeat, which perhaps flattered the Gunners' overall performance to Paris Saint-Germain and Paris de France in midweek in the semi-finals of their Champions League, and to complete a 3-1 aggregate loss to the French champions. Many suggest that Arsenal showed some fight in midweek, but they were generally limited and lacked any sort of intensity. But interpreters, after opening 10 minutes to challenge admittedly controlled and an excellent PSG side in the French capital. Liverpool are coasting towards the end of the season with little to play for, but the Reds will want to finish their 20th league title winning campaign with some good performances at home at least. But they face an Arsenal side they are not absolutely certain of a top 5 spot, but their Champions League qualification just yet, they should be fine, they should be okay. There is a good chance they will feel both physically, emotionally fragile in midweek. So a Liverpool victory seems likest outcome in this one for Merseyside, but I'm going for a 1-1 draw. But you may side on Liverpool just, but it's really too close to call, just like the Newcastle against Chelsea one. So that's my predictions then for week 36 for my predictions. Leave on your comments below, guys, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye, good night.